All right, good evening. I call the meeting of the Snoqualmie Planning Commission to order. First, we have a quorum tonight. And so we'll do roll call. Vice Chair Mrziak,
Present.
Commissioner Lavoy,
Present.
Commissioner Lambert,
Present.
and Commissioner Hurley.
Present. Can you hear me?
I can, thank you.
Great, thank you.
And I'm here, so. Okay, so we'll move on with the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Great. The agenda is approved as written. And now we'll open for public comment. So we'll open the public comment at 7:07. Do we have anyone? And no one's here. So seeing no one wishes to speak, public comment is now closed. And next we'll move on to the approval of the minutes as written for, is that June 1st? Yeah, June 1st. Is there anyone wishing to make any adjustments?
No, I move that we approve the minutes as written.
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the minutes from June 1st are approved as written. And now we are moving on to new business with our associate planner, Allison Kirk, presenting on food trucks.
Good evening, Commissioners. Again, Allison Kirk, Associate Planner with Community Development. I'm here tonight with our legal assistant, Robert Thrall, to give you guys a brief but hopefully exciting and fun presentation on mobile food vendors and kind of what the city's existing policies are and potential for updating our mobile food vendor regulations. So just so we start off on the same page, a mobile food vendor is a mobile food unit that is readily movable and provides, stores, prepares, packages, serves food directly to the consumer. We know these typically as food trucks or trailers, food stands, carts, and other similar operations that either operate on private property or within the public right-of-way. We have a current issue in our municipal code in that we don't have specific regulations for mobile food vendors, despite a growing interest from vendors within our community that want to operate within the city. So our past practice for kind of dealing with these mobile food vendors, we have two processes within the code that attempt to address this issue, but they could do better. The first is a temporary use permit. So this allows mobile food vendors in zoning districts where other food and beverage uses are permitted to operate under a temporary use permit for a period of up to 180 days. We have a couple of examples of this, I believe, from like within the last couple years, but it's not it hasn't been a common practice for allowing mobile food vendors within the city. The other process is through a right-of-way permit. So our Public Works Department administers these permits, and they allow people to operate within the city streets or sidewalks, operate their business activities. So there are several different reasons why municipalities could choose to regulate mobile food vendors. First is to ensure health, life, safety. So a formalized process in the code will ensure that the vendors that we do have within the city meet health code, fire code, labor and industry standards, and that they receive a business license through the city. We can also choose to designate areas within the city where mobile food vendors could locate. This could be on private property, in our different zoning districts, or within different right-of-ways within the city. We can also establish timeframes, either short-term or long-term timeframes for mobile food vendors. And then, of course, our regulatory authority allows us to evaluate impacts to parking, lighting, waste management, wastewater management, and impacts to our other businesses within the city. There are several ways in which we can choose to regulate mobile food vendors. We can provide for a process within our zoning standards, our business licensing standards. We can adopt new fire code or new permitting processes. There's a number of ways that other jurisdictions are choosing to regulate mobile food vendors, either through one of these titles or maybe a combination of them, depending on what the local issues are. So we took this same presentation to our Community Development Committee on June 1st to kind of discuss what our current issue was and what the option for developing more formal regulations, what our options are for developing those formal regulations. They referred this item to the Planning Commission. So as a output of kind of this presentation and the discussion of the Planning Commission, we're looking for direction on whether or not staff should move forward with kind of research and stakeholder engagement into developing formal regulations around mobile food vendors, or if this is something that you'd like us to table for the indefinite future.
Okay, thank you. And we'll go around for discussions or questions. Vice Chair Marziak.
Yes, thank you. So Associate Planner Kirk, you mentioned that there's one or more titles that would apply. It would seem to me that almost all of them would. Zoning would apply, Title 17, business licenses, Title 5, and permit processing, Title 14. Fire code, I would think it seems like all four of those would also be done. I mean, you've got a lot of experience in other areas more than we do, obviously. Is that how it's approached in other areas?
Yeah, so other areas are approaching it in different ways. A lot of it has to do with, where the gaps in our current code may be. So whether or not these four titles sufficiently address, or if they do need kind of updating. I've seen other jurisdictions do it just straight through a business licensing standpoint. So mobile food vendors are allowed citywide just so long as they have the proper business license approval. I've seen cities go in and amend their zoning code to say, nope, we don't want to allow them citywide. We only want to allow them within these specific zoning districts. We've had, we could choose to amend Title 14 to say you need this specific permit, and that permit's going to be valid for, the specific amount of time on this specific property. Fire code is, I mean, we defer to the, National Fire Code, which do address this issue. We could choose to adopt like specific standards through the city, but my understanding is that like the fire code does already address mobile food vendors in general. Whether or not we want city-specific standards would be, in addition to those. Does that help answer your question?
It does. It sounds like if we have zoning saying this is a permissible area, and then we require a business license, which I think we should, that would be enough, because then you wouldn't need a permit necessarily, and the fire code's already covered by vehicles of that type. Is that correct?
That could be a pathway.
Okay.
Commissioner Lovely.
Well, it looks like Robert has
Yes. Robert?
Thank you, Chair. And I was also going to state too, it can be, especially for a city with our resources, a heavy lift to amend a section of your code. And right now, as we stand, we don't have any part of our code that mentions food trucks. So with this is we could amend to start one section of the code that covers food trucks. And we can always go ahead and amend multiple sections, but it's just identifying where it best fits, I believe, in the meantime, to amend one section of the code that addresses food trucks the most appropriate, if you agree with that, Allison, that assessment of it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So amending the zoning code, as you're probably aware, takes a pretty big lift. It requires a lot of public engagement and, formalized public processes. Amending other titles of our municipal code may be like an easier feat. However, we'd be limited, like amending Title V may not give us the full authority to like designate areas. That's a land use action. We would need to go into Title 17 to do that. But if we just want to make it an option in general, citywide, a Title V amendment might be a first step in doing that.
So right now we have no regulatory authority for food trucks. So making one change would give us some regulatory approval. And this year we're doing the zoning update with all of the engagement. So we could include this as part of that.
There's potential for that. Burke is contracted to do our comp plan amendment, which will have a zoning amendment package with it. We have a contract scoped for a specific level of work, so we'd have to go back to them and see if this is something that is that can be fit within that scope, or if we want to amend that scope. But certainly we do have that large, lengthy public process already started. So, whether or not we include this in that is something that staff can explore.
Okay. And that's what we're determining right now, right? Is direction on whether or not it should be explored?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask just a dumb question real quick? You mentioned at the very beginning that we could take this up or table it. So it sounds like there is a food truck right down there off Railroad. Everybody sees it, right? It must have a business license because it's generating revenue in the city. Is table it really an option? I mean, I was wondering at this point after covering how hard it is to do a code update.
Yeah, so a little bit of background on how we got here. So as you know, we do have a couple examples of food trucks within the city. And as they may or may not be operating, with the business license or with the proper permits from our department. We've had businesses come to us looking to operate, and we've sent them down the pathway of like a temporary use permit or a right-of-way permit. We've also had a couple of code enforcement issues with food trucks that then we're having to find a way to, through that code enforcement action, how are we permitting this within? So from a staff perspective, that is the issue of we don't have clear guidance in our code, and we'd like to, pursue that item. Our planning commission does have the authority to, designate what legislative or kind of work with staff to designate what legislative items we take on. So we're coming to you before we start this endeavor. We're coming to you to get that direct policy feedback.
Okay.
So it sounds like we really shouldn't table this. There's some issues that we need to address.
Yes.
Yeah, and then in terms of how we got here, we discussed this at Community Development Committee, I guess it was a couple of weeks ago or a month ago at this point. And I think the sense of the committee members was that to the staff, that there's some ambiguity and gray area within the code in terms of how we deal with this line of business. And I think, if I'm recalling correctly, the fellow committee members and I were sending it to the Planning Commission to help us get like, what's the lightest weight way that we could tackle this and accommodate new business owners that want to like look at food trucks, handle the businesses that we currently have within the city, and do so in a way that's like sensible for all is kind of just the general sentiment in terms of why we're here today. So.
Okay. I'll continue. Commissioner Lambert, I didn't get your input.
I think I'm good for right now. Sorry.
No apologies. And Commissioner Hurley, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, was this something that was brought up within the other committee, or is it something that was brought to them as a potential issue from the staff or from the public?
Yes.
This is an issue that was brought to the committee by staff based on kind of some past code enforcement issues that we've been having with food trucks.
Ambiguity.
Okay. So we currently have a temporary use, two different ways for people to get temporary permits in order to operate a food truck within the city limits. But we believe that there are some people that are potentially operating without either of those permits as well.
That's correct. And these permits, they don't specifically, so we do have code chapters that are dedicated to the administration of these permits, and these titles don't specifically call out food trucks as a specific use. We've used these in kind of lack of clear guidance, like this is the best job that we can do given the code that we have at this time. But part of that is, it's not necessarily the most effective code, and
Okay.
we'd like to explore different
Would it be potentially another way forward where we could extend the temporary use permit language to cover food trucks or create something similar that would be easier than doing a full code amendment for the city, just to create one that was specific for food trucks?
So that is an option to amend. So the temporary use chapter does like enumerate a list of uses that are allowed. So that could be amended to incorporate mobile food vendors. It's unfortunately amendment even of that scale still has to go through the text code amendment process.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just looking for the easiest way forward because obviously we've got a lot going on, full district zoning update that we're going to be doing this year. We've also got the issue with the batteries and potentially with data centers that we also have to focus attention on. Want to make sure that we're not, splitting our attention too broadly, and just sort of seeing what we think is the quickest way forward to get what we need, without it tying ourselves up with, a whole lot of staff hours, or potentially paying consultants to have to do too much additional work. I do think this is needed, though. I mean, the food truck, we've got something going on this coming weekend that's going to have a bunch of food trucks. Like we do need to be able to make allowances for this, and they do need to be regulated correctly, specifically in terms of, health and business. We want to make sure that we are making the city available to be able to ease in when it makes sense, and people want to do parades and all the rest of things that potentially can require this or would be benefited by this, but we do need to make sure that we're not putting too much legislation in place that prevents food trucks from being able to come as well. So the easiest way we make it for them to get a permit and be able to operate within the city limits, and that they understand what the code that applies to them is, whether it's a packet we give them with the license or something along those lines, so that they're understanding exactly what's expected of them.
Thank you, Commissioner
Thank
Hurley.
you.
Can I have to clarify? So we talked about the health codes quite a bit, but aren't they regulated under King County Health Department? They have to follow the same health codes as everywhere else in King County. Do we really need to add on to and have Snoqualmie specific health?
So we wouldn't necessarily have specific health code. What a potential process would look like is through like our business license process, we would ensure that a mobile food vendor has the appropriate King County Health Department approval. So right now, like a food truck can pull up into a parking lot downtown and start dishing out food. And, we don't know if they have a business license, if they have the proper approvals. Obviously, the King County Health Department does their own enforcement of their code, and they do actively inspect and go through mobile food vendors. But as far as like, the city checking the box to make sure that our mobile food vendors and businesses are properly licensed and regulated, we don't have a process right now for for us kind of doing that extra level of check.
Okay. And is it fair to assume that based on the comments that happened here, that everyone is in agreement that we should have something? That this should be investigated by staff? Not exhaustively, but find a way to have, I mean, staff knows best what types of inquiries you're getting or things that are coming to you that are flying under the code. And so how you would give yourself that authority with the lightest touch for now? Is that, anyone like to make a motion?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, right now, is this the complaints you're getting? Is it seems to be about where they're operating, or just because I know that there are certain businesses that partner with food trucks regularly, which is maybe a different relationship than a truck that just pulls up in a random parking lot.
So we haven't received complaints necessarily. The enforcement issue we had was actually a food truck that came in and started dumping into our stormwater system. So our department and Public Works had to coordinate with them on, advising them on what was allowed for dumping and what wasn't allowed within our public utilities. So that's like on the code enforcement side, kind of that's what we're dealing with, not necessarily people complaining or, requesting that we enforce against food trucks. On the brighter note, we are getting a lot of interest from mobile food vendors looking to come into the city and are asking questions of like, hey, I want to work within the city. What's the process? What permits do I need? This is what I'm doing for other jurisdictions. What am I doing in Snoqualmie? And we don't really have a great answer other than, well, we can do this maybe on a temporary basis and under these limited circumstances, but, we don't have a super clear guideline for how we can permit them. So it's not all bad. It's mostly good, but making sure that we have, a foothold to kind of guide our business owners through our processes.
Yeah.
So I can take a shot. Then let me,
Yeah. I'd love that.
let me discuss it for just a minute, just
Okay.
before I take a shot at the motion. First, from a definitional standpoint, you use the word mobile food vendors and food trucks. I assume we're talking about food trucks, not the wheel around ice cream vendors that can go in buildings.
That's certainly can be part of the discussion. So I'll go back to mobile food vendors. This is how the state defines a mobile food vendor or mobile food unit. So it's any mobile unit that prepares packages, serves food. It can be a truck, a trailer, a stand, a cart. We don't have to adopt this definition. We can adopt something different.
So this would include the wheel around ice cream vendor.
Potentially, if that's right. I mean, that's part of the work that we want to do with
Like
the
a
public and you
confidence
guys is figuring out how do we define this and
Oh, you got it there yet? Trailer stands, carts, some operations.
Is there a reason it shouldn't?
Well, yeah, I want to tell you what, let me discuss this one, see if we can make the elements of a motion. So there's two things that I think we need mobile food vendor regulation around. One is special events, like when we shut off Center Street and we pile food trucks in there. That should be very simple. I mean, we should not make that very hard. The second thing is where that one is down on Railroad, I think even in Facebook, they say, here's our address, you come here all the time. Where they're there for an extended period of time, that needs to be a stronger process, all right? So if you guys agree from a discussion standpoint, I'll make a motion that we attack it that way. Yes.
And I think the mechanism to regulate both of those could be different. So the one to regulate the one on Railroad would be an enforcement issue, which would have to be more than likely in the code for something to fall back on to enforce it. So, I mean, there's many elements. I see an enforcement element, I see a clarification element, and then I see an element to minimize confusion for residents as well. So it could be multifaceted.
Well, I think it will be. I'm just trying to frame the approach.
Okay.
Associate Planner
would-
Kirk had a comment.
Yes.
As well.
so it kind of sounds like you would want regulations that look at like the time and occurrence of mobile food vendors. So what we allow on a temporary basis. So for a special event, for someone that's coming in, on the weekend, or someone that's coming in, partnering with another business to provide, food service, like on a, for one night a week or a couple nights a week, like that's a temporary basis versus a food truck that
Right.
comes onto permanent property, parks it there for the next 2 years and stays. So we're kind of regulating on a short term and a long term
Yeah, yes.
time frame.
Yes, I mean, so, so let me take a shot at it and then we'll just go in there. So, I move that we consider, regulating mobile food vendors in two categories. One is special events, where we do it as a quick permitting process. The second is a long-term, location that we have a couple around here, and you do both a business license and a permitting process.
Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Okay. It looks like there might be a question.
I have a question, because would that second part include privately owned land where it's not necessarily the food truck, but food trucks occur on a regular basis, right? Like that, maybe that truck comes every once a month or a couple of times a month, but that location regularly has food trucks, every day or multiple times a week.
Yeah, so it's possible that like a business could have, a place where they have food trucks come in, but it's multiple food trucks that are
No,
like a different one every night. Yeah, I think No Boat is a
Try
good
not to
example
name
of
it.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I know. I want to be careful about names.
Well,
Yes, that is their model.
so, and you said business and zoning for the extended
Business license, no, business license and permitting.
and permitting. Okay,
Yeah, I'd stay away from zoning at this point.
right. Okay, and we had a second, so I'll go around now for the vote.
So just
First, open it up for discussion amongst commissioners
Okay,
on the motion.
would you guys like to discuss the motion? Yes?
you just had a comment, go for it.
I had a comment regarding just how it would work if we're amending the process in Title 14, we would need to amend Title 17 to include language for mobile food vendors. And then we would specify in Title 14 the process for which that gets reviewed and approved.
Can we say that that is a general intent and then you provide a path?
Yeah.
I would say that it would need to be clarified in the motion, not necessarily like the spirit of the motion, but
Okay.
what is worded in the motion
Okay.
for the context, because
I'm just-
semantics would matter in the motion.
Just in terms of, because this is a approval to move forward to make a recommendation on how you would make this happen within the code, which I don't think any of us know well enough to
Right.
know the easiest path.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Okay, so you're saying that in order to put this under permitting, we also have to attack zoning? Is that what you said?
Correct.
We'd have to make mention, which would be an amendment.
We have to identify in the zoning code what is a mobile food vendor. And then we would and then Title 14 would specify within our current development process, what process we would take it under for review.
Well, that seems like a heavy lift then. Could we do it all under business licensing? Title V?
Potentially, I think we'd be limited to where you wouldn't be able to specify like zoning, right? We would have to say that mobile food businesses are permitted citywide, so long as they have a business license.
The thought of the motion is to give us let's address it, take out the ambiguity, and leave the zoning piece of it for the broader zoning discussion, which is going to take a few months anyway, that this be included in. That's the idea.
Yes.
So another way to tackle the motion, so this is our kind of, first initial touch base with you guys. We're identifying the issue. We just kind of need a blessing to move
Yeah,
forward
that's what I was
on
asking.
research and development
Yeah.
of the best possible pathway forward. So,
I'm sorry.
no, 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 no.
To perhaps finish your sentence, I think another area that probably needs some more double click is on stakeholder engagement with respect to some of the business owners that hearing from them in terms of like, what are some of the pain points? I wouldn't want us to do anything. My recommendation would be not to do anything that would hinder if No Boat's got a good thing going, right? We want to make sure we facilitate that, cover the code enforcement issues, make it so that if a new business is exploring Snoqualmie, we have better answers to give them. But I think that stakeholder engagement is pretty key. And the last thing I'll say is perhaps stakeholder engagement with the broader like Chamber of Commerce and restaurant community, given that there's at least transparency with respect to what the city is contemplating from a mobile food vending perspective and the brick and mortar restaurants that have a different but similar model, right? So I think that's that stakeholder engagement that I think is referenced here, I think is essential in terms of that research and fact finding from my perspective.
But I mean, we're hitting the heat. I mean, we're gonna do Snoqualmie Days. If somebody wants to bring a snow cone vendor into Snoqualmie Days, we still can do that, right? I mean, is there anything we can do just quickly to say, here's a definition for at least the special events?
So for special events, and I'm sorry, I should have included this in the presentation. Special events are city sponsored. They require a special event permit. And on that permit, they specify whether or not food trucks and what food trucks
Okay.
are going to be
So that's
present
already
there.
covered.
So that's already
Okay.
covered. So under our past practices, so temporary use permit, right-of-way permits, and then special event permits should be the third one. So you don't have to worry about our summer events. Those, all the food trucks associated with those are already captured under that special event permit, and we're ensuring that they have, business licenses, and those are being coordinated through with our staff as part of like a city function, city-sponsored event.
So that doesn't, special events do not need to be addressed at this point.
I think we could add provisions in the code, but I mean, we have a process
Okay.
currently for addressing that.
Good then, yeah, then
Mhm. So it's mainly
it simplifies it.
the longer term situation that we're trying to remedy. Okay.
We'll kind of change the,
Yeah, I think
so let's try it again then, okay. So I move that staff investigate the mobile food vendor ambiguity as it currently exists and address the exclusive long-term location presence at this point in time. And the other things, such as zoning and others, we'll cover in the broader discussion we're gonna have over months.
I'll second that. Can I
So now,
second?
yeah, you can, because now that was a motion to amend, because you had the main motion.
Okay.
That would have been an amendment to the main motion with the second, and then now what's on the floor is a discussion about the amendment to the main motion.
So let me rephrase. I move that we amend the original motion and we exclude special events and we address mobile food vendors and address specifically the long-term location piece of that.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Well,
No. Do we need to discuss?
are you amending what you just amended, or were you clarifying what your amendment was?
I was
Clarifying the
I was
amendment.
clarifying the amendment.
So then we had a main motion, now we're at the amendment
Yes.
that you seconded and that he just clarified what the amendment was.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have a discussion on the amendment.
Okay. Commissioner Lavoy.
This, I guess, a question for staff. Are we still being too specific in ways that might tie your hands? And
Potentially. So I think the motion was to explore kind of an immediate policy or immediate solution for food truck, how we're addressing food trucks, and then to direct staff to research and develop a longer term solution for food trucks. I'd say the only other third element is to ensure that staff has the ability to do like public outreach and engagement as part of their process.
Okay, yeah, so
Hmm.
include in that staff's ability to implement and timing, okay.
I know we're in discussion, but I want to kind of, is there any reason why we can't just go with option one?
I like that. Yeah. Does that work for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. It's
Now you got to tell us how to do it.
yeah. Now Robert.
That's what-
Motion that? Oh,
I
no,
don't
we have
remember
to vote.
parliamentary
We have to
procedure
vote
that
on the
well.
So,
amended
so wait,
motion
wait,
first, right?
let me withdraw my motion and amended motion as, there was an option presented by staff that seems to cover all the bases.
Motion was already stated on the floor, so you would have to motion to withdraw your amendment, have a second, vote on that, and then that would clear it.
Okay.
So I make a motion to withdraw my motion and amendment.
Second.
Split them out.
One at a time?
Yeah.
So you have to
I
start. with
make my
me.
motion to withdraw my amendment.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Is there any
Aye.
discussion? Withdrawing.
I don't think so, is there?
Okay,
Just trying to get through this. Any opposed? Okay, so the
Did you
amendment
vote?
is.
I didn't hear. You got ayes.
They all
Yeah.
eyed,
yeah.
Okay.
and no one nayed.
Okay.
And I make
And the
a
wait. The amendment is withdrawn.
amendment, okay. And I make a motion to withdraw my original motion.
Okay,
Second.
great. All in favor?
Discussion.
Aye.
Discussion. Would you guys like to discuss that? No? Okay. All in favor, aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, so the original motion is also withdrawn. And now would someone like to make a motion for the one that was
I
given to us
make
on a
a
silver
motion
platter?
to go with option one presented by staff. Do I need to read that out or?
Yes, please.
For staff to conduct further research and stakeholder outreach regarding the development and implementation of formal regulations for mobile food vendors.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Nope, discussion.
No
Yeah, have a
discussion.
discussion.
Is there any further comments? Commissioner Hurley, since I cannot see you, do you have any further comments?
No, I think that covers it.
Okay. Okay, so are we all in favor?
Chair. Make sure you restate the motion before the vote.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor for the staff to conduct further research and stakeholder outreach regarding the development and implementation of formal regulations for mobile food vendors. And it has been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so the motion carries. Yay.
Good job out there.
Yeah, good job reading. Solid work. And Associate Planner Kirk, thank you for telling us what to say.
Yeah, that was the first time for me too. So thanks for bearing bearing with us.
Okay. So let's see. Our next item of business is old business, which we don't have. And then we'll move on to the council liaison report.
Thank you, Chair. City Council received a number of presentations at our last meeting. Well, actually, I'll first say we confirmed our new city administrator, Andrea Leonard, who previously was the deputy administrator from the city of Issaquah. She'll be joining us in early July. We're very excited about her appointment. In addition to that, the council received presentations related to a potential new dog park at Stellar Park, the street tree replacement program, and the Department of Corrections work crew program. Those were all just informational presentations, no decisions or actions taken by the council during those discussions. We had some first reading ordinances on covered loads and revising our animal cruelty code. And then finally, we had a pretty robust discussion related to data centers and their, I guess, compatibility with Snoqualmie and the code. And I would actually encourage commissioners to take a look at the council's agenda packet. There's a pretty extensive memo related to data centers within that I think would really get folks up to speed on some of the research and what the options may be for the council to consider. What we ended up doing, and I think you'll see this in the future agenda items, the council referred this matter to the Planning Commission for further research. So as we know, data centers are a hot topic in the news today, and there's a lot for municipal governments to consider here. So I think at minimum, this should be an interesting area for the commission to tackle as it relates to a whole host of regulatory intersection with respect to data centers within the city limits, data centers within the UGA, and I think trying to stay ahead of what's an emerging area of land use that communities around the country are facing. So I'm excited for you in terms of being able to kind of tackle that, because there's a lot of questions and I'd say a lot of discussion around that don't have clear answers. So that I think covers it, but happy to take any questions from the commission.
One question. The packet that you want us to review, is that from last week?
Yeah, it's the agenda packet. Correct. Yeah, the 6-8 agenda packet. There's I think almost like a 20 some odd page memo that covers data centers and different policy options as it relates to them. The staff did a really great job of pulling that together. So I think definitely have a read of that because there's just a lot of good information there.
Great. Okay. Any other questions for Councilmember Murphy? No? I'll go around. Do my list again. All right, Vice Chair Maruziak.
No questions.
Okay, Commissioner Livoy.
Yeah, so it looks like the council recommended that staff review options. Is that inclusive of potential for a moratorium while more specific research is done?
I think the sense was, so the council decided not to pass a moratorium while the commission, I guess, determines the best policy outcome. That's subject to change, I think, depending on kind of what we're hearing and just what new information comes to light. But I think the policy options, my understanding is it's pretty like white space. And obviously the memo gives some pretty good guidance in terms of like the areas of focus. So, you're not having to totally reinvent the wheel. But I think we're looking for really like some substantive guidance on where and how data centers could be integrated. Should they be integrated into our code? All of these things are kind of really into your hands in terms of what recommendations you might want to offer. So really looking for all of your fresh sets of eyes on that topic.
Cool. Commissioner Lambert?
None for me.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yeah, I went to the city council meeting where this was being discussed, and just to add to what was being said, I believe the moratorium was not passed because it would have put sort of a ticking clock on the urgency to address this. And we wanted to make sure that we weren't diverting any attention away from the battery problem that is currently being faced by the city council. So that was why the moratorium was not agreed to. And that we want to make sure that this is addressed correctly, and that we are putting the attention and due diligence that is necessary into it. So it's something that obviously is going to affect the city a great deal if a plan is made or a proposition to do one of these within the city limits is made. So this is something that we should definitely be trying to tackle this year.
Yeah, to further just kind of underline that, I think that appreciate that, Commissioner Hurley. The moratorium requires the city to hold a public hearing within 60 days and then have like a pretty robust work plan that follows. So right now, as you all know, we have a BESS moratorium that's currently was passed last month, and that 60-day clock is running on that moratorium. So I think there was concern around making sure we weren't spread too thin, related not just to the moratorium, but the additional work plan and work that's ongoing with respect to the city's response with respect to the BESS project in unincorporated King County. That project's SEPA clock has not yet begun. But when it does, the city will be working on a number of different types of responses related to that project and formal submittals, which will take a good amount of time and bandwidth. So, but I think the memo, as you'll see, gives us enough so that if something does come up, we're ready, you know? And I think between the council and the commission looking at it, I think there's a lot there to kind of dig into and move quickly if we need to.
And Mayor Mayhew was pretty specific that there is not currently a proposal on the table. There is not any companies or organizations that are suggesting we do this or ready to present something to the city at this point.
Thank you, Commissioner Hurley. Okay, any further comments? That's good. All right. Thank you, Councilmember Murphy. So the next is our department report, but of course, our Community Development Director, Davis, is not here. But one thing that I did want to share was that this is Robert Thrall's last week. He will be going to, I don't know what the right word would be, go to the big city to fight crime.
Something like that. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I forgot the name of the law firm as well, but he will be going and being in kind of the civil litigation space. So thank you so much for everything you've done. You've carried we're amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's going to be the next chapter of my life, but I'm definitely going to miss everybody that I've worked with within the city and being a part of the commissions and committees. So been very thankful to have this opportunity.
Okay. Yes.
So question for staff.
Mm-hmm.
So in the last planning commission, prior to Commissioner Tessman becoming council member, there was a couple here that was working on a storage container, and we left it dangling, right? We weren't sure if it was gonna be permanent or not, and they were willing to dress it up like a house, you know, and doing it. We said, put a pin on it. And then he became council member. Anyway, we moved on. What's going on with that?
I believe they're on the agenda for next week or next,
is that right?
session. Yeah, is that right?
That's correct. We do plan to bring them to the next planning commission on July 7th. So staff has been working with them as well as our legal department on providing a updated staff report and recommendation for you guys to review. So that's why we've had kind of a pause in that project. But we will be bringing more information forward on our July 7th meeting.
Will it be definitive? Will it be something we can vote on?
I believe so. We're bringing a recommendation.
Okay.
Yeah. Good question. Okay, so as far as we'll move on to the future agenda topics, which was pretty well covered by Councilmember Murphy's explanation. So let's, as a commission, try to review that packet that was gone through. Was it community development?
It was the full council meeting packet,
Okay.
yeah, from I believe the 8th of June. So,
June 8th. Okay.
and we defer to staff if there's any other resources for them to take a look at, but that seemed like a pretty solid start.
I believe that's the only resource
Okay.
we have at this point. Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Great.
Is there any chance that could be emailed to the commissioners, please?
Oh,
Yeah, I can send a link out to where to find those materials.
thank you.
Thank you.
Got to make it real easy for us. Okay, well, if there is no further business to discuss, yes?
Just one, I am out of state next meeting. so
Okay.
I'm not gonna be able to be here
Oh,
on
bummer.
July 7th.
Ditto.
Okay, so now we might not have quorum.
That would be good for us to know.
Yeah.
If I can take it from out of state, I'd do it, but I'll be in Hawaii. I'm not doing much.
That's a lousy way to spend time in Hawaii, though.
Robert, do we
Yeah, you can attend remotely. You don't need to let us know tonight, but you can, if,
Okay, maybe we'll make a note to just double check attendance. It will be is it Monday or Tuesday after
It's Tuesday,
the
I
holiday,
think, yeah.
the holiday weekend?
I think it's July 6th, no?
Okay.
Oh, sorry. It's the Monday after the holiday weekend, so July 6th.
Okay,
Yeah,
Apologies.
I'm still,
you're
Out
out,
of-
but we'll confirm all attendance.
Okay.
Thank you for looking ahead and prompting that. Cool. If there is no further business then, the planning commission is now adjourned
Mo-
at,
Motion.
you gotta make them.
I looked it up. It said we don't have to. Do you want me to?
Yes, please. It's been just past practice that we.
I know it's past practice. It just seems like extra time. Okay, I make a motion that we adjourn our meeting tonight.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
All
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Okay, this meeting is adjourned.